Greetings, Canon Nation. It's Phil here with a Canon Connect. It is April of 2023. Today, I'm joined by longtime financial services exec Sandra Ottinger. Sandra has a tremendous amount of background in workforce enablement, workforce development, workforce coaching, workforce mentoring. Sandra, welcome to the Connect.
Hey, thanks, Phil. Glad to be able to do this with you today.
Well, I'm excited as well. You know, there's been so much discussion about the evolving dynamics of today's workforce, particularly in the financial services industry. There's not a day that goes by that we don't hear about some policy change, some policy shift that a particular organization is having with regard to its workforce. I thought maybe we could take a few minutes today and just kind of unpack. As guests have told us in the past, this evolving dynamic was not incubated during COVID. It actually came much before that. Changing technologies like Zoom and FaceTime and Microsoft Teams have all given us the opportunity to work remotely or to work globally or to work not in person. What do you see right now as kind of the state of the financial services industry on this workforce issue?
And I think, Phil, you're absolutely correct. The technology was always there. I think that we can all agree that COVID accelerated it and took those of us and the firms that were perhaps late adopters of the technology and really forced us into using the technology to stay connected and to do our job. I think that that's been a good thing for a lot of reasons, and we've seen a lot of benefits from that. There's still challenges. I see now that people who in 2020 and 2021 thought, oh my gosh, I can do all of this virtually and continue my career, my work, everything I need to do. I don't need to go into the office. I think that enthusiasm is waning a bit. As we see more and more firms going back to the office, requiring more time in the office. And I think that our clients who at one point were really anxious about meeting with advisors, meeting with their trust officers, are now more and more open to that human connection again. So I think there's always going to be part of it that we realize, hey, some adoption of this technology is terrific and we can leverage it to do some things. But there's also the realization now that we can't leverage it to do everything.
So when I think about a pendulum, and it seems that the pendulum has really swung and maybe is now coming back a little bit towards center. I remember in 2018, 2019, the whole concept of doing a Zoom meeting. I can remember having meetings with clients and nobody would turn their camera on. It was just it was another technology to be able to do a conference call. And then we got into 2020 and we lost all of the human connection, our ability to be together. And so now all of a sudden the cameras were being flipped on. Folks wanted to see each other. Folks needed to see one another. And so then we fell into this deal. Well, you know, I've done my work remotely. I've moved to Colorado. I moved to the beach. I moved to the mountains. I did whatever. And now organizations are starting to feel the impact of that lack of social cognition. I refer to it. Yes, a lot of people can do some work remotely, but the culture of the organization, the ability of people to provide tacit learning opportunities, it's just not there when people are fully remote 100% of the time, right?
100%. And we thought in 2020 and 2021 that asking people to turn on their cameras was going to build that human connection, right? We can see your face. That's important, but it is never a substitute for that face-to-face human interaction, because a lot of what you miss by doing work exclusively remotely is spontaneity. And that is spontaneity in inter-office conversations that could be mentoring, that could be educational, that could be correctional, coaching conversations, the ability to truly build friendships and the connections with your coworkers that enable you to build trust and long-term relationships. So that's why that human face-to-face connection is so critical. Human beings are designed for that. Our behavior needs that. Our brains need that. We physically need that human connection to continue to grow and develop ourselves and to continue to serve our organizations effectively, I think, and serve our, even more importantly, serve our clients.
Well, and that's the direction I wanted to go just for a moment. Client expectations certainly have evolved over the last 4+ years, what it means to be accessible. I think clients are much more willing to have Zoom meetings, to be able to interface in that format. Yet I talk to a lot of advisors that are spending a tremendous amount of their time, perhaps more so than ever, in face-to-face conversations because clients are wanting that type of human connectivity. And so if clients are looking for that type of human connectivity, there's got to be value there. I think you said it exactly right. We humans are built to be social creatures. Even those that label themselves introverts still derive a tremendous amount of both social and intellectual development when there are those in-person opportunities. So talk about some of the disruptions that you've seen with some of your clients from this whole advent of working remote, trying to coach remote, trying to build that esprit. What do you see is happening?
Phil, you came up with a keyword, which is disruption. I think it's affected a lot of things. I think that it's not been as impactful on existing clients. So clients that you've already dealt with in person, those relationships have stayed intact and those are great. I think where it was most impactful has been on new clients, especially those that came in 20, 21, 22. Again, building those relationships that you develop face-to-face across a restaurant table or across a desk or in a meeting room, it's just been really difficult. And so it's been a little more challenging to build and engage and to build trust, which is so critical in these financial and wealth management relationships. You have to have trust. And so many people say it's not necessary. We can do it. But the reality is, it's not the same. And I've talked to clients who have said that, and that, we've onboarded new clients, we've been working with new clients, but I feel like I have to get to know them all over again once we meet in person, because it's that, again, that human interaction, that ability to shake hands, meet each other in either in their home or in an office or in a restaurant or another social location, that just engages and accelerates, I guess would be the word, that trust building and relationship building. So that's been a disruptor. That's been a challenge. I think that the other disruption has been in the buying process with clients, because clients now with technology have found I can do a lot of research before I meet with you. And so they do a lot of online exploration, a lot of online education, and make some preliminary decisions before they even meet with your wealth management team or your financial advisor, which has changed the way that our financial services professionals have to engage and enter into a selling conversation. That the clients come into it a little bit later, which is a disruption of what we've typically been used to in how we engage and uncover needs and do discovery with our clients. Those have been the two biggest disruptions that I've seen, are new client relationships and in the sales process. I think the other place that we've had some disruption and has been an area that's impacted me probably the most is in how do we train and develop our people? Because Canon and for years myself have been in the business of putting ourselves or our professionals in an instructor-led training situation, live classroom. There's a lot of interaction, a lot of energy that is developed there. And while we all had to go to Zoom and remote learning, and a lot of that turned on a dime, let's be honest. Some were more ready for that than others, but some of it for me, it turned on a dime. All of a sudden, my engagements were remote. So how do we keep the learning? And how do we keep that engagement and energy going through virtual learning? Some parts of it are great because you can push some content out. You can give people more ahead of time to prepare, but it's still just that change that has been a disruption. And I see it begin. You know, you talked about the pendulum. We talked about it just kind of broadly, but I also see it swinging back a bit to more instructor-led training, or maybe a hybrid of some virtual with instructor-led as far as training and development of staff goes.
So you and I have talked about this in the past. We've seen an emergence of a younger workforce. We all know the financial services industry is very experienced, average age of client-facing advisors, high 50, low 60s. But over the past 9 to 12 months, we've seen a lot of organizations out actively recruiting and onboarding younger professionals into the advisory set. Now, these individuals come again with their set of experiences and expectations. And I think that folks like you and I sometimes are a little too quick to say, well, you're not coming with very much experience at all. But what we're tending to look at is experience in the rote knowledge of wealth management. It's not necessarily the experience of connectivity and communication. I know I've got a 26-year-old daughter, got another daughter that's about to turn 20, and both of those individuals communicate with their social and professional network in really different ways. Even though they're only separated by 6 years, they really communicate in different ways. And to me, it's not a way that I would necessarily prefer to communicate. Yet, for the rising generation of clients that organizations are attempting to attract today, it's really, really important that methodology of communication and connectivity the organizations support that. Are you seeing that out in the field?
I really am. And I think there's a couple of things we talk about next gen. We can talk about next gen employees and how they communicate. We also need to talk about next gen clients because how they communicate and what their expectations are oftentimes vastly different from their parents or even their grandparents, right? Especially from the grandparents, how they want to communicate, what they're looking for in their financial advisor or their wealth management or trust officer. They're looking for vastly different things and they want to communicate differently. So I think that it's terrific that we're bringing in younger people into the industry. That excites me a lot because it means our industry is still growing and it's so critical and the need is still there. But it also means that it can help address the next gen clients are looking for, right? What do they need? They're looking for more digital interaction. They want more personalized and customized experiences. They want to be able to go on and look at their portfolio and perhaps make changes or themselves, right? So they want more of that digital technology interaction than what other clients in the current and past generations have wanted. So I think that's critical. I think, though, the other thing that we're always a little bit hampered by in our business is regulations and how we can communicate and how data has to be, communications have to be retained and tracked and archived and all those things for our regulators. So I think that's a bit of a challenge that the industry is still figuring out how to address, right? You can't just always necessarily text, hey, this is what I'm doing, unless you've got software that archives that communication and saves it. So I think our regulations are catching up a little bit, and our technology is changing to adapt to the environment in which we work, which is always a challenge. But yeah, next gen employees are much more digital driven, technology savvy, prefer that method of interaction, and also next gen clients. We've got to be prepared for them.
I was just thinking about the current gen versus rising gen or next gen. I saw an announcement a couple of days ago of a young lady who actually interned with us several years ago. She had received a promotion in her organization. And so I just did a quick Google search of her name, and there were multiple postings where she had penned articles on behalf of her company and had them out in the digital sphere, if you will. She's been very active in her community, and a lot of that had been chronicled as part of her digital presence. Out of curiosity, I then did a Google search on a much more senior level advisor. It wasn't in her firm, but somebody that I thought of at that moment in time, just to see for a comparison and contrast. Their digital footprint is tiny. A couple of references, and it dawned on me something you said just a few minutes ago. Clients are coming to the table much more knowledgeable than perhaps they were even 10 years ago on the various issues that they're facing, along with the various opportunities. They also are spending more time. I think my daughters would say stalking somebody digitally online, doing research on them online. So curating your digital presence has never been more important. Is that right?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And because it's like I said, clients will engage with you now a little bit later in their decision making. And so they're going to spend the time of exploration. They're going to stalk you. They're going to look you up online. They're going to look you up on LinkedIn. They're going to see what kind of thought leader you are. What do you have to say? What do you participate in? And I think something else that's different for this next gen and for younger employees, Phil, is what are you engaged in socially? What are your values? What means something to you? Do they align with the potential client or the potential employee? And they're looking at your digital presence to show, hey, this person's values, what they are interested in, what they participate in, what's important to them, align with mine. So it's not just the business aspect, which is critical, your knowledge, but it's also they're looking for what are your values and do they align with mine more than ever before.
One of the things that I have watched fairly intently over the last couple of years is that level of digital engagement that you're talking about. And I've got several friends that are in leadership roles in different organizations, and to the person, they have become much more active with their personal voice, to your point, their personal values, things that they appreciate about the career, things that they appreciate about the opportunity to engage with clients. And it's less about, hey, look at me and all of the credentials, but it is more, let's talk about shared values. Let's talk about shared passions. And so I believe it is the attempt to use that digital presence to further that level of social engagement and values level engagement. I fear that is not being adopted as broadly as it could. Why are certain people maybe reluctant to go down that path?
That's a great point, Phil. And I think about it. I think about it even myself personally, and you probably have had the same thinking as well, is I think there's also folks are a little concerned about what if I put my values out there and people don't agree with it. Somebody doesn't want to do business with me, not because I'm not capable, competent, obviously can handle their needs, but because maybe there's an issue they don't agree with me about. And I think there is some reluctance there. And I think there's people are a little bit hesitant to do that because they don't want to put out a position that potentially clients or even new employees wouldn't agree with. It could harm them. So I think there's a little bit of anxiety about it.
All right. So how do we get past that? Because everything that I'm seeing, everything that I'm witnessing right now is those individuals who are, if you will, stepping into the breach and attempting to engage in a higher level. They are deriving significantly greater benefit from doing it than it appears the risk of alienating one or two individuals along the way. So if you had the opportunity, you do right here to coach some people on sales enablement and relationship engagement and things like that, what would you encourage them to do?
I think, Phil, the biggest thing we talk about relationship building and building relationship with new clients and existing clients is to be your authentic self. And I think that's what people can detect the quickest is if what you're putting out there doesn't feel authentic. If you are your authentic self and you represent your authentic values that align with theirs, people are going to be more likely, I think, to join you and say, hey, you know what, I might not really 100% agree with this person's stance, but they're authentic in what they believe. They're not jumping on a bandwagon. They're not just saying something to be correct, that this is their authentic self. And I think that the people that do this most successfully and that I've seen do it most successfully are authentic about what they say, what they believe, and what they put out there. And so I think if you can go out there with who you really are and you're authentic, what do you believe in? What are your values? What are your values in terms of how you want to interact with your clients? What's important to you to support your clients and their needs? I think that it's that hump we've just got to get past, right? But they're looking for authenticity and just put that out there.
So, penultimate question. What is one thing that you wish more client-facing advisors, whether it be face-to-face, digitally, or otherwise, what's one thing they could be doing more consistently that would yield better relationship development, better levels of trust with their clients? If you say, hey, do this one thing, do this consistently, and it will yield results.
It's going to take you back to basics, and that is communicate. That is communicate. And there was a recent Capgemini study, and they were talking a lot about different market segments and what they're looking for, and different age groups and generations and what they're looking for. But it was interesting in that all of the digital interaction and all of the technology that everybody says they want, what they still value the most is human interaction. They're looking for that nice mix of technology, digital ability and platform, but they still want human interaction. So it's still that communication. So it's still occasionally pick up the telephone, give them a call, talk to them, invite them to lunch, get them in, meet with them one-on-one. It's still communication. If your clients aren't open to that, or your employees are still remote, it's still pick up the telephone and talk to them. Emails are terrific, and they're a great way for pushing out information if you need to tell somebody something. But if you really want interaction and you want to build that relationship, pick up the telephone and get in front of them face to face.
We have seen a dramatic amount of change over the last 36 months. When you think about it, as you and I are recording here today in April of 2023, if we go back 36 months, you and I were probably, locked inside a building someplace, working remote, perhaps for the first time in our lives. A lot has changed over the last 36 months from a social standpoint, financial standpoint, geopolitical standpoint. Put on your futuristic glasses. What are you watching for over the next 12, 24, 36 months in the financial services industry? What's a mega trend or a micro trend that you're watching?
Gosh, Phil, there are several, and I think you talked about really right now is such a time of uncertainty in so many areas. There's just a lot of uncertainty that we all feel in a lot of ways. But I see that maybe the trends are, let's get back to communicating to our clients. Let's take care of the portfolios. Let's take care of our clients' need. Let's try to we've got a lot of distractions. We've got a lot of distractions in the market. We have a lot of distractions politically, socially, but we still have to navigate through that and keep the focus on our client and meet them where they are, communicate with them. And so, it's sort of like everything old is new again. It's easy to get distracted, but I think the best firms and the best advisors are able to stay laser focused through the distraction and stay focused on the client and what their needs are and how do I bring the best of my firm to meet their needs and to help them solve their problems and keep their financial life working on all cylinders.
So what you're basically saying, to borrow, I guess, a little bit from Ted Lasso, which has that show has become a favorite of our family. Keep the main thing, right? Keep the main thing, the main thing.
The main thing. You're right, Phil. That's it. And the client is the main thing.
There you go. Well, Sandra Ottinger, thank you for being part of Cannon Connect today. People want to get more information about your contact information, and also a link to your online digital presence will be in the show notes today. But thank you for being part of Connect.
Thank you, Phil. Thanks.
Cannon Connect is a production of Cannon Financial Institute. Executive producer of Cannon Connect is Sarah Jones. For more information about Cannon and all of our programs, you can reach us at cannonfinancial.com. Don't forget to connect with us via social media. My social media, as well as that of Sandra's and of Cannon's, also will be in the show notes. So until next time, when we're together again, I'm Phil Buchanan, wishing you well. Bye-bye for now.